our game made 4 million euros. It topped the Steam charts, universities taught economics with it, and 3 years later, I was broke, hospitalized, and selling my life's work for 5 grand. Impossible? Yeah, I wish. And I'll show you exactly how that happens, because it can happen to you, even if your game sells hundreds of thousands of copies and gets rave reviews. So grab some coffee and let's uncover how and what you can do to avoid it. I'm Alex Mochi, almost with 2 decades in gaming. So solo, teams, AAA, indie, everything. And Rise of Industry was my defining moment, my biggest success and my biggest failure all in one. But no rants here, no courses to sell, just the raw truth of what happens when a good game faces a broken business. So, if this is your first or 5th game, this is for you. Let's dive in. I started Rise of Industry in 2015 or so, and back then it was just a prototype called Project Automata. A couple of very nice guys from Reddit joined in to help me develop it, and it was basically Factorio meets SimCity, with supply chains and shops and transport routes that made sense, or so I thought. And in just a year, it blew up on itch and became the most downloaded game on the platform. Kickstarter is a completely different story because it had a hilariously bad video and somehow we made it through Steam Greenlight. And in 2018, Early Access, where you need to patch fast, engage with the community and watch something real take shape. The sales were amazing. The reviews over 90% positive and the score was booming. With over 350,000 copies sold, we grossed just under 4 million euros across all platforms. And you know what's funny? When Rise first hit the front page of Steam, I remember spamming like crazy or an addict the dashboard every few seconds. The numbers going up and my phone that wouldn't shut up with all the new messages going on. And for a while, it felt like we cracked the code. Universities reached out to us, wanted to use the game in their economics courses. Gaming journalists were calling us the next big thing in indie simulation. And I even got invited to speak at a conference in Berlin. I don't know why, me, the guy who grabbed people off Reddit because I couldn't code my way out of a paper bag. And I remember thinking, okay, this is it. We made it. We're actually going to pull this off. And I started looking for new office spaces. Started planning the next 2 or even 3 next games before we even finished patching the first one. And the weirdest part, for a few months, that feeling felt real. But the momentum hides problems, and what I didn't fully grasp, or what I couldn't see, is how fast the income disappears. So let's follow the money. First, Steam, 30% gone immediately. Nearly a third before you can touch a single cent. Then you have refunds, which are for indies 10 to 15%. Regional pricing further shrinks your margins. And grey market resellers use stolen keys, fake credit cards, and you get nothing, only more work and possibly negative reviews. But the real pain, a bad publisher deal. So, back in 2016, during pre-alpha, we connected with Calypso, and it felt monumental. They published games like Tropico and Railway Empires, games I was completely addicted to. And we were just a tiny team, making our first real PC game. The deal looked fair on paper. 75k in advance, with a 50-50 split until they recover 100k. And then they shift to 60-40 for us. For a new team, fair feels like a win. And soon after launch in 2019, Calypso shifted us to Casido, which is their smaller digital sublabel. The contract didn't change, support evaporated, fewer resources, less marketing, and a vanishing reach. I started suspecting, had Rise already served its purpose for them? In hindsight, it was pretty obvious. Rise was profitable, they recouped, and those earnings were funneled towards other projects. like the very successful Warhammer 40k Mechanicus, which is a great game and I'm very excited for the sequel. So yeah, Rise did well too. All in, by the time things slowed down, Casito had taken around 1.2 million, and the dev team, us, got around 1.5. And that's the number people like to grab. 1.5 million! That's more than enough to make a living, right? Let me break it down a bit more. A team of a few dozen people over 4 years, some freelancing, some full-time, that's more than $1 million in wages. Software, servers, hardware, and taxes leaves you with pretty much nothing. And by the time Rise of Industry was fully released and Recipe for Disaster was in pre-prod, we were already 100,000 euros in the red. And by 2021, we were around 140,000 in negative. I remember staring at the spreadsheet at 2 a.m., trying to do mental gymnastics on how to pay 20 people with money for maybe 5. And spoilers, you can't. The money wasn't coming in. We weren't on Steam front page, the reviews slowed down, and everybody moved on. Makes sense. But I was still trying to hold it together, kind of like with duct tape on double shifts and 80 hours a week. We kept patching Rise, hoping it would regain momentum, while starting something new, Recipe for Disaster. But it never stabilized. Every fire I tried to put out lit a new one, and eventually I cracked. So, the stress, the pressure, and the relentless hours broke me. Not just mentally, but also physically and emotionally, which meant hospital visits, panic attacks, weight loss, and a kind of burnout that doesn't just go away with one long weekend. There were very dark thoughts. But my team stayed and believed in me, so I needed to keep going. Definitely far too long, looking back. And the money completely vanished, and I faced losing my own home. And one choice remained: selling the IP. Which meant the code, the DLC, the brand, the dream, gone for $5,000. Back to the publisher who made over 1 million. And all without an added clause on that shit contract, which had no recourse. And I was so fucking naive. What truly stings, after they took over, the game re-exploded. Bundles, discounts, all exposure that I didn't see a single cent, of course, it wasn't mine. And then, last year, a sequel was announced with Somasim. I tried to help, I really did. And Casito's offer was absurd. No rev share, minimal creative input, and laughable pay. I remember pitching Fall of Industry years ago, my vision for the sequel. And I walked. And no, I never spoke with the development team. Then the reviews came in, and they were not great. Honestly, I'm honestly surprised because from the outside it looked like a major investment, but it lacked testing, polish, and marketing, and nobody talked about the game. I don't get it. And I really empathize with Somasim. I know the kind of pressure, because part of me still sees the game as mine. It's a source of immeasurable joy and pain. And look, I don't regret making Rise of Industry. It remains one of the most ambitious, rewarding, and painful things that I've ever done. I regret how I ran it. All the blind spots, all the problems I saw and stupidly thought they would resolve themselves. I didn't push for better terms. I didn't build margin, and I didn't question the momentum. I only believed in the next patch, the next feature, and the next launch would save us. And this is the part I want you to leave with. The hardest part wasn't shipping the game. It was surviving everything around it. All the contracts, the crushing timelines, and the unsettling silence when things go wrong. It was clinging to the hope that just one more update would fix everything without preparing for what would happen when it didn't. And this might sound like a cautionary tale, and believe me, it is not. Again, I don't regret making it. And I spent these years learning. I've worked with other studios and other publishers, and I've helped teams sidestep my traps. And I've reinvented production approaches. And all of it with real schedules, ironclad contracts, and calculated risk. But I do not claim to have all the answers now. I do see the warning signs. So, are you working on a game now? Dreaming big? Ask yourself this. Where does the money come from? Have you run the numbers, or are you just hoping for the best? What if sales are terrible, or worse? What if they're amazing, but your contract isn't? Now, this is not paranoia, it's preparation. And remember, my game that started with 2 guys from Reddit hit Steam's front page and made millions, and I managed to lose everything. And this channel is not about the stories, it's about the systems. It's not just, don't do this. It's more, here's how to build something sustainable. Because in this industry, finishing a game is only half the battle. You need to survive it. And thanks for sticking around. And if this made you wince, nod, or check your budget spreadsheet, good is what was it for. I'll see you in the next one.